Hey there, Brian. How are you doing?
There you go.
There we go. Perfect. Good. Good to see you again. Welcome, everyone. Please join me in welcoming Brian Garside from Manage Comics. This is, one of my favorite. This is one of the talks I've been looking forward to the most. We had the opportunity to talk to Brian and his team before, and I grew up in comics. My first job, kind of under the table, was working at a local comic book. It's not there anymore. There's a local comic book store, and I was sorting back stock and doing that. I was making about $3 or $4 store credit an hour just to feed that comics habit. But I was really lucky. I got to grow up during that Claremont era of X-Men and the rise of Image and Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man. So and for years, as part of Channel Fireball, have just been looking like, hey, when can we get back into comics? When can we get back into comics? And of course, we spoke. And providing this opportunity to really engage with comic books online, I think that's brilliant. Providing the tools for stores to be able to do that is awesome. We started the day talking about 5 things retailers could do. Right now, one of them was diversify. It's one of my favorite ones. And comic books is a great way. I'm sure there are a number of retailers here today that are doing a lot with gaming and not as much with comics. Before I let you go, I do want to let everybody know, if you got a chance to take that quick hit at Brian's bio, Brian, you got your start working gaming stores and comic book stores. I saw
did,
that.
Yeah. Around it was around the same time you're talking about. It was the whole McFarlane Image kind of revolution. Yeah, for sure.
That's so awesome. I mentioned it earlier because Liz, our prior speaker, she was a manager of a retail store. I was like, once you've done any kind of retail, you get that retail feel, but it's something about the local game store or the comic store. There's something about that gets in your blood. And like, once you're in it, forever. So that commonality of experience, you can speak that language. And we've all had those, because local game stores and comic book stores, they're like half retail store, maybe even less than half, and like half clubhouse or a hangout.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really blurs the lines there. So I that's the part that you really take with you. But okay, I just wanted to let everyone know about you, Brian, and you're going to take it away and talk to us about Managed Comics, maybe some SEO as well. So thank you, Brian. Welcome, Brian. And let's all pick up our pens and papers and take some notes on comics.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mashi. So let's talk Managed Comics. And we're going to talk even more than just Managed Comics. We're also going to talk about recurring revenue, and we're going to talk a lot about optimizing hybrid retail. So hybrid retail, I'm sure you guys know what it is, even if you don't actually have never heard the term before, because it's kind of one of those like nerdy IT terms. Hybrid retail literally means the hybridization of online and offline. And what we've seen, so part of the overarching company that I own is North IQ, and we're a marketing and IT shop. And with that company, what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic was a massive basic flight online. So people who had offline stores suddenly realized that they needed to be online. And I'm sure if you guys are using BinderPause, like you're there, right? Like that's the whole hybrid between online and offline. So that brings a whole series of challenges. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to take a look at some fun stuff here. I just have to push the play button. So you guys should be seeing my big screen here. Oh, I think you're seeing the wrong screen. Oh, what have I done? There we go. Now, yeah, and if it wasn't for fun, and this worked in the trial, but it's not working right now. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of.
I think you had it that first time. That first time I had it on my full screen.
Did I? Okay, let's try that again.
I think you did.
So
yeah,
oh
wait, no, now it's showing 2 slides.
Okay, how's that? Is that the full screen?
I think that's what you want. Yeah,
okay, good.
That works for me.
Sorry, the green thing is showing on the other screen, so it's like, no, that's the wrong screen. Cool. All right, so I'll do a little agenda of what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk a little bit about me. I'll tell you more about me and why you should trust me, because I've been doing this a long time. We're going to start off by talking about some marketing wins. We want to talk a little bit about Google My Business, which is one of the key components that if you guys aren't doing this right now, by the end of today, this would be an amazing thing to get yourself fixed up on. We'll talk a little bit about Google Analytics, SEO for hybrid retail, demand generation. So that is really just getting people to come and find you. We're going to talk about email, landing pages, social media. And then I'm going to jump into a little pitch about Managed Comics. So I'll introduce Managed Comics. We're going to talk about how it works, who uses it, and how to easily add products to your store. So let's get started. Now, Vince is my right-hand man here. And if you guys have any questions at any point, just jump into the chat and ask those. And Vince will stop me. He's going to be my guy in the chair who's going to stop me and answer questions. And by all means, if anybody has a question, please throw it up there and we'll get to it. And like I will interrupt kind of my flow to get to questions, because if one person has questions, I guarantee another half dozen do. They just haven't had the chance to ask for it. So with that said, let's talk about me. I'm Brian Garside, the guy behind Managed Comics. I have been a comics fan my entire life. I still own my first comic. I'm very proud of that. I worked in a comic shop in high school called Bid Time Return. And then I helped open a much larger one in my hometown, London, Ontario, called Heroes. We also opened Endless Adventure, which was a game shop back then, and I was part of all that. In 2004, after I'd graduated from school and really got into IT, I opened a online shop called All New Comics in Canada. And for the next 12 years, I really worked on perfecting the subscription management tool, which was the backbone of that system. We, in the beginning, kind of bought fairly heavily on things and hoped that it would sell online, and it didn't. It was hard to rank high for things, and it was hard to, sell versus Amazon in those early days. But what we found very quickly was that if people subscribed to stuff, we could very accurately predict how many extra copies of something would happen. And during the time that I owned that shop, the death of Captain America happened, which I remember distinctly because we gambled and bought 100 copies of the death of Captain America, and we sold them out in a weekend. And that was really heavy for us, by the way, 100 copies, because we maybe had 10 subscribers to Captain America at the time. So yeah, it was a big learning experience for me. In 2015, I quit my cushy IT job and created the first version of Managed Comics with my partner Taras, and we did extensive testing of it. In 2017, we launched it to the world, and we've currently, this is wrong, have more than 75 stores across Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. And we spent the last 5 years really working on hybrid retail solutions. So speaking of hybrid, let's get into some marketing wins. And we're going to start out with probably my favorite and easiest thing that you can do, which will make the biggest change to your business today. This is vital to your business, and it's Google My Business. It's super easy to do. Just Google My Business and set your store up. Your store may already exist, but there's a good chance you don't own that listing. So one of the challenges is claiming a listing that already exists. So once you've claimed that listing, you get a lot of benefits, like the ability to post your hours, to respond to reviews. Responding to reviews is really, really critical. It helps to make your business actually appear in search terms more. It gives signals to Google that your business is a going concern. And it's really, really critical. You can also add your store hours, and what's cool on Google My Business, you can also update like holiday hours. So this Monday is our favorite Made Up Ontario holiday family day. So I can go in there and really quickly update that the store will be closed. And then that shows up in searches that your store is closed. And yeah, there's tons of other stuff you can do. You can post pictures and videos and things. And really, claiming it means that you control that thing and that you can kind of do stuff around it. You can't, unfortunately, remove negative reviews, but often just responding to the negative reviews with reasons why, what happened really helps. Step 2 is to make sure you're measuring things with Google Analytics. Now, Shopify has some built-in Google Analytics tools that let you get your codes in and stuff, but the data that you can capture is incredibly important. I often say that web traffic itself is just a cost, because the more traffic you're getting, doesn't necessarily mean that your business is doing well. But if you're taking that traffic and you're capturing it and you're turning that traffic into conversions and into customers, then you know your business is healthy. And so you can actually find a lot of these things out with Google Analytics. There's an entire conversion tracking process. There's even heat maps that show you, what is working and what isn't. You can look at real-time audience monitoring. You can look at acquisition behavior. You can look at actual pathing behavior. So somebody starts here and where do they go next? All these things are really, really important. I keep on hearing tick, 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 which I'm hoping is questions, but Vince, I can't actually see it. So if you've got a question that you need to interrupt me with, just give me a little shout here.
Will do.
Thanks, buddy.
Got you covered, Brian.
You're the man. Let's talk about an acquisition report. So this is actually a report that helps you understand which channels, and that's marketing speak for direct, organic search, which is a Google search, a page search or SEM, social or email is generating your traffic. So we can see this by a bunch of different metrics, including, I'm trying to get the screen out of the way here. We can see this by a bunch of different metrics, which includes kind of campaigns, mediums, and sources. So a campaign might be like the method that got your traffic to you. The sources is literally the websites that are sending you. Exactly where are those people coming from? How many new users are you generating? What's the bounce rate per channel? So that means how many people are coming and seeing one page and then just bouncing on out. Because maybe you're putting a lot of time into Facebook, for example, and maybe Facebook users aren't actually engaging with your site. They're just coming and getting out because it's not what they're looking for. So that's a real easy way to kind of start to look at where should I be putting more effort into. A really interesting thing, and I've never seen this before, but we do some business with a home builder, and we found really quickly that Pinterest was the number one channel for them because people, organize their dream houses and stuff like that. So really understanding that, Instagram might be a really, really good channel that you may not be using enough of, depending on where traffic is coming from. And then understanding what people are looking for, and when they get to those pages, what they do next is really important. So looking at behavior. So you may start to find that, your sales will tell you what's selling and what's not, but there might be reasons why things aren't selling the way you expect them to. Maybe it's really hard to get to that product. Maybe you need a landing page around the latest release of Magic, which actually has direct links into those particular products. So if you start to see that there's specific pages generating a lot of revenue or a lot of conversions, our recommendation is always build more of those pages and build less of the ones that aren't generating as much. Seems really simple, but until you start measuring this stuff, you don't really know what's working and what's not. Getting found with SEO. So SEO is the highest return on investment by far. We find that people who organically find our content convert to customers way faster than when we spend money to get them for us. So with Managed Comics in particular, we spend a couple $100 a month just on ads. And those are really only so that we can kind of metric them and see what's happening with them. But by far, the content that we're writing. So we write a lot of stuff about how to use Instagram with your comic store, how to use Facebook with your comic store, how to use Shopify, why you should be on Shopify. We wrote an entire blog post on crisis communication, why it's important to communicate during the pandemic. And what was really interesting is that we started getting our number one conversion point right now is our post on how to use Instagram for your comic shop. And that far outperforms anything that we're paying for traffic for right now. So really understanding what your audience is looking for and writing content towards that stuff really, really will help you to get found by SEO. And the best time to start on SEO was 6 months ago. The second best time is right now. So, writing about the things that are your unique selling opportunity or propositions on your business. Maybe you're holding a weekly graphic novel club or a D&D campaign. Writing a summary about that D&D campaign and having that on your website might be one of those things that ends up triggering people to come and check out more about your store. Little primer on SEO. So the secret to SEO success, because most people will tell you SEO, search engine optimization, is a big black box, but really understanding search intent. So what would somebody be searching for? So think like a customer who's actually looking for your product or service. What kind of questions would they have? What are the related terms to those questions? So for example, let's say that you've got a board game cafe. What would somebody who's looking for a board game cafe be looking for? Maybe something like games night. Where can I find games night in my town? So the keywords for that are games night in London, Ontario, for example. And then when people can find those things, then that if you have content about those things, that stuff will surface higher. Like I said at the beginning, more traffic does not mean more success. So just because you've got a bunch more traffic, if that traffic isn't converting to things, then it's not the right traffic. So the real secret to success is getting the right traffic at the right time from people doing the right things. So you want to find exactly the people that you need, and you don't need to be writing, the top 10 movies that came out in 2020. I was going to say 2021, but even 2020 is a joke because I think there were 3 movies. So you don't really want to write that about your board game cafe. That doesn't make any sense. But writing stuff, the top 5 board games to help get you through the winter blahs, that might be an interesting topic. Actually, I'm going to steal that one so nobody else steal it. So a couple things you need to do. You need to do a technical SEO audit. So you got to look at some things like, does your site have meta tags? Out of the box, often Shopify doesn't have good meta tags. There's a couple really simple plugins you can use to make sure it does. Is it generating Open Graph data? Open Graph data is if you go to Facebook and you paste in a link from your site, you should get a little picture and you should get a little description in the blurb from that link that you just put in. But if it doesn't have the proper data in your website, in the technical back end of it, you're not going to see that. Does it use well-structured HTML? If you're using Shopify, it most likely does. Do you use categories and tags to subdivide your information? So are you properly categorizing your products? Are you properly tagging the products? When you do that stuff right, then you actually will generate better data in the back end that helps you get searched a lot better. And finally, is there a search map? Google loves to crawl search maps because they're really easy for it to understand. Everything's all tagged properly. It's all very kind of computer language formatted.
Ryan, this is Vince here. Do you have time for a question?
I would love a question, Vince.
So I got a question here from Craig. What tools do you use to do this audit? So I'm a store owner and, I'm going to Google search, but are there any particular tools I should get or find to help me understand how my site is laid out technically?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the technical audit is done through, if you right click on your website and do view source, you're going to actually, if you then hit Control F or Command F, I don't know which one it is on, I think it's Control F on a PC. And then you type in the word meta, then you're going to see whether or not you have meta tags. And one of those meta tags is going to be called description. So you want to see meta description. The other one is you're going to, again, Control F after you've viewed source, and you're going to look for the letters OG:, and that's the Open Graph tag. So if it has those will show up. The well-structured HTML is kind of a nerd thing. You'll need a nerd to figure that out. Are you using categories and tags? That's something that is on your Shopify side of the house, and you'll know whether or not you're using categories and tags. But the question really becomes: are you using them well? Are you really dividing information easily? But there's no kind of out of the box technical SEO audit tool. It might be something we want to build at some time, Vince.
I like that idea. And a quick follow-up. So you're talking about, search engine optimization being found on Google, and sort of like, what is the very first thing I should do to get my store found?
Well, the very, very, very first thing is make sure you have that Google My Business. I think there's the same kind of version of that for Bing, which is like they're literally 1/10 the traffic of Google. So when you take care of Google, you usually kind of take care of the majority of the audience. But the reason that is a big thing is because that signals to Google that you're actually an ongoing business that is a going concern, as in you are actually open. And then as soon as you've kind of claimed that and started using that, update your hours, update your closed hours, those kind of things. It really gives the signals to Google that your business is an active business. I can't tell you how many of those things I've seen that haven't been touched in years. And the hours on Google say that you close at 5, but you're open till 8. And that kind of thing, or the reverse, which is the death of a business. If you close at 5, but your Google thing says you're open till 8, and somebody comes to find you at 7 o'clock at night, they're going to remember that, and they may not come back to your store. So updating that kind of stuff is really, really important.
Thanks, Brian. It so happens that you've written a guide on this, on how to set up Google My Business, and so participants can find that in the chat, a hyperlink to how to set up Google My Business, a free guide.
Yeah, is that the one on North IQ, or is that on Managed Comics?
The link I have here is to marketingmaturity.com.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, in your content audit. So once you've got your Google Analytics set up, you can start to use that to figure out which phrases people are using to find you. And you can also look into what phrases the users are using to find your competition. There's a couple of free tools out there, and I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I know there's a couple of free tools you can use. One of them is SEMrush. They have like a free kind of audit system that you can use to take a look at other people's results. The other one is, I think it's called SEO Moz. Both of them you have to sign up for like a free something or other, but they don't charge you for your initial couple of searches. But these are really good to kind of figure out what your competition is ranking for. How high do you show up in search results? So if you just type in your business name, obviously you're going to show up number 1. If you don't, we've got to talk. If you're a game store and you type in game store in my town, how high up do you show on those search results? What key products or services do you want to promote? So figuring out a small subset of products that you can kind of own on search is always important. And again, with search, it's often very local. So make sure that you're kind of owning the terms that are in your town. And is your content matching search intent? So, and the way you find that out is by following people who've come to your site and seen, they came through this keyword. Did they actually end up purchasing something? You also need to see who's linking to your website. So again, SEMrush I know has a backlink checker. Really, really powerful thing to find out who's linking to your website. This is one of the highest things that you can do. If you have people that are linking to your website, you have businesses in town that are linking to your website, that's really, really powerful for Google because it gives you authority. It says that your business is meaningful to other people. And which pages in your website are being linked to. So make sure it's some of the good ones. And if you find that, so my Instagram page, I found out that our Instagram page was being linked or being clicked on a lot. So we built a little button on it that says, would you like to try out Managed Comics? And that button is now one of our higher generating click-throughs. So if you happen to have a page that was talking about your board game night, maybe you have a link to it to sign up for our next board game night in there. And what keywords, which are the words inside of the link, are being linked from. So that might be, let's say you have a newspaper article about you, and it says local game store, store name. Those keywords, local game store, store name, will actually become the things you rank for. So that kind of stuff is important as well. Generating demand. So wouldn't it be nice if we could just turn on a switch, Bink, and have new people come and buy our stuff? Well, you can do that. It's called an email list. And I know everyone hates being on email lists. And so the reason people hate being on email lists is because of Old Navy. Old Navy sends out an email every flippin' day, and those emails don't mean anything. But you know what? I'm also a member of a bunch of different email lists, like my local game and comic store. And when Gord from LA Mood sends out an email, I read it, and I often go to his store and buy something because those emails actually mean something, and he doesn't send out a ton of them. Sending emails to a list that you've generated will yield higher results than any other marketing effort you can perform, hands down. And not only that, but you actually know that I send out 1,000 emails, 25% of those got opened, 15% of them had a link clicked on. This is the kind of metrics you won't get from any other source. Not even Facebook or Google Ads will give you that much metrics. Selling to somebody who's previously purchased from you and had a good experience is way easier than selling to a new prospect. Everyone knows that. That's why existing customers are worth way more. What's more is if you own an email list with 2,000 customers that you regularly communicate with and who you can prove will respond to things from that email, that's actually a tangible asset that your business has now that becomes valuable when you go to sell your business in the future. So keeping those kind of things in mind, that a business is no longer just about the bricks and the mortar around it. It's about the assets like the email lists and even the social media followings that they have. So after the order confirmation email sequence, you can definitely contain offers in those as long as they're part of the order confirmation, and you don't have to request permission for that. Update emails like the email newsletter are best if you have an engaged audience with a 50% or higher open rates. If you see that when you get to 50%, that means that you can actually send out more because people are opening them up. You got to be really careful though, because if you see that your open rates are hitting 20s and 10%, maybe you really, really need to reconsider what you're doing. We've seen open rates as high as 60% for folks. Promotional emails, so as needed, limited to 2 to 3 times per year. So these would be, your Boxing Day, or I guess Black Friday in the United States sale, maybe your spring sale or your fall sale, but you don't want to do a whole ton of promotional emails about events, or not events, but kind of driving people in or around sales. Otherwise, people will just wait for the sale all the time. And event emails, when you're participating in or hosting an event, you want to keep those geographically targeted. So try not to kind of blast your entire list if you're doing an event that only a third of them can come to. This is one of my favorite parts. Is like I love to describe the methodology that goes through my brain when I write an email. The hook, which is the bait that gets somebody to open your email. The subject line is the most important part of your email. So it really needs to be something actionable and something that like encourages somebody to open up the rest of it, right? So maybe it's save 20% off. That's a crappy kind of thing to do, but maybe that's what you want to do. Or maybe it's the new Magic the Gathering release comes out this Friday, and we're having a midnight event for it. Once all this pandemic nonsense is behind us, events are going to be something that people are desperate to get out to. If I could get out of my house right now and go to an event, I tell you what, I would be there tomorrow. The story. So now you've got their attention, you need to deliver on it. So craft a good story with a setup, a desire, a wall or a blocker, an epiphany, a plan, a conflict, an achievement, and a transformation. So by this, what I mean is you're going to tell a Star Warsian story about how somebody, you've been challenged with getting something and you managed to acquire that thing, and now you're going to have a big, huge rollout for it. with a lot of the stuff that you guys get as game stores, there's a scarcity to it. There is things that nobody else can get. So this part of it should be easy. You know, we've only have a limited quantity of this product. So get in here and get now. You may have a timer. So put a timer up on your email that says this offer expires in 14 hours, especially like pre-orders. Those are genius. You know, when somebody's pre-ordering something, that is something that's going to expire at a time. So once you've told your story, be clear with what they're supposed to do. This is the number one problem that I see with emails, is they're just kind of a rambling thing and they don't have a big call to action. But the call to action is get here and buy this thing. And remember, you're selling stuff, so it's okay to tell them to come and buy the thing. Crisis communication. This is something that we kind of pivoted at the beginning of the pandemic and explained to people. It was killing me when I was getting emails from like my car dealership telling me what they were doing for the pandemic. Okay, that's nice. But then when I started getting emails from like the dude that makes the software for my time tracking, I didn't need to know what they were doing to help me with the pandemic. But when a crisis happens, so let's say your building gets hit by a car, you've got to communicate to people immediately that you're going to be closed. If your power's out, communicate by every channel you possibly can, social media, emails, like all that stuff, and explain what's happening. Tell the truth. Don't be afraid to be honest about it. And like I said about the pandemic emails, pick an appropriate time. Don't get involved in a crisis that doesn't affect you. If it's not urgent for you to explain to customers, you know, what you're doing to deal with that situation, then don't jump into it. But by all means, like in the beginning of the pandemic, there were stores that were saying we're doing sanitization processes and curbside pickup, and it made me feel really good about like their communication was actually getting them customers and making their customers trust them more. Step 5, dedicated landing pages. So this is something that's really interesting with something like Shopify, where you could actually create a page for a specific, like a launch of a product. So Magic is a great thing. Whenever the new release of Magic comes out, you guys should definitely have a landing page around that, explaining all the different stuff that's available, how to get it, how to pre-order it, how to not miss out on it. You need good key messaging, you need good visuals, and above all, you need a single specific call to action. So that call to action shouldn't be, you know, buy this here, buy this, like 15, buy this, buy this, buy this. It should just be one big, like, here's how you order stuff, here's how you pre-order. This is an art unto itself. There's tons and tons of content out there on the internet about how to create a good landing page. Social media can be effective if you don't create a desert. Did I spell desert? Desert. Yeah, that's desert. So social media is great, but if you're not regularly posting, your business can look bad. Dead social media accounts look like the business may no longer be a going concern. So we use Buffer ourselves. So I literally spend about 20 minutes once a month posting a month's worth of posts. So I have a month's worth of pre-generated posts that go out across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and it's a different comic every week. And even over the pandemic, when there weren't comics coming out for 2 months, I was still posting like a throwback to a previous comic that we really like. So it just keeps our Instagram and Facebook and everything fresh, and it doesn't take me a ton of time. And of course, if somebody responds or says something, I'll gladly jump on my phone and respond to them because I get alerts for all that stuff. But it's often kind of making that time to post daily. If you use a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite, you don't have to do it. You just have to spend the time to build a bunch of them and then just not even think about it.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes, sir. Please do.
I noticed you taking a breath, so I thought I'd jump in. We have a question from Waleed. Thank you so much. I have a problem finding a good website or an app that'll help me do a landing page. Could you please recommend one to us?
Yeah, sure. So there's a site out there called Unbounce that is a really good tool, and I think they still have a free plan for stuff. If you're using Shopify, you can use a custom page to create a nice little landing page for things. It really depends on kind of what your tools are that you're using. We use WordPress for a lot of our websites, and we just build pages when we want to create a custom page, a landing page for anything. That kind of ties into our blog stuff. So we have a blog. It's info.managecomics.com. If you just type in managecomics.com, you'll go to it. We write dedicated blog posts on not only the stuff that we do, like pre-authorized payments, which are new and improved, but also how to use Instagram to promote your online store. We do a ton of different things about like kind of the business side of the fun business. And that is, that's all my SEO stuff. Any other questions right now, Vince?
Thanks for asking. We just got another one in asking, what is Buffer? Could you speak to that?
Yeah, Buffer is it's buffer.com. It is a posting platform that lets you post to your different social media platforms. So like I was saying, I will use it to set up a whole bunch of posts so that for the next like month, I'll have posts ready to go. Anything else, Vince?
That's all we've got here at the moment.
All right, I'm going to jump right into recurring revenue from comics. So like I said at the beginning, I owned a comic store, an online one. I have worked in physical brick and mortar shops. I've done it all in terms of comics. I've managed a comic shop back in the day. And recurring revenue from comics is a really, really easy thing to do. Once you set up subscriptions, the majority of comics collectors want to get the same books month after month. And comics have enough scarcity that people are afraid of missing something, before it sells out. So there's a upcoming Keanu Reeves book called Berserker, which currently has, I think, 650,000 pre-orders for it, and they're expecting it to sell out on day one. So people are actually subscribing to this thing to make sure that they can get it when it comes into a store. Managed Comics helps to streamline your ordering with initial order support and final order cutoff capabilities. We get the info you need to order efficiently. We simplify your pulls in 3 simple steps to know who gets what and how many copies you'll have left over for the shelf. We give your customers control so that they have control over what they're subscribing, but you still get the final say. So you can kind of set the window for when they can order stuff, but they can easily add and subtract titles. We have a special order system so they can order deep into the catalog or from any other source, and you get the final say over whether or not you can process that order or whether you have to decline it. You'll sell more comics, and we've proven this time and time again, with personalized messages and automated campaigns that respond to user behavior. And you'll get paid fast. You can invoice a customer as soon as an order is pulled. And with credit cards on file, which is part of our system, you will get paid as soon as that invoice goes out. So Managed Comics is a super simple tool for customers to manage their list. And we have looked at every single way that you can do a subscription tool. And we've actually done ours a couple different ways over the years. And what we have now, it isn't perfect by any means, but it's definitely kind of the thing that has worked the best to get the most people to subscribe to the most comics and to buy those comics, which is the most important part. Having 1,000 subscriptions of people that don't pick up their books isn't going to help you. So simplicity is the watchword of Managed Comics. I've looked at the other systems. Diamond has one called Pullbox. We've got a couple competitors out there. And I think personally that you need a PhD in comics in order to figure out how to subscribe to things with their systems. Ours are all one little click. You click on one button and you get the book. It's super easy to log in. It works on mobile or desktop. Customers get email reminders that lets them know what's in the store for them, so what's been pulled for them recently. Their invoices, if you invoice them for stuff, they know exactly what they're going to get in those things. For customers, collecting comics couldn't be easier. We curate pure previews. So instead of the 3,000 items that are in it, we have about 1,500 items on our website. But really, when you take away the back half of the catalog, which isn't kind of recurring subscription stuff, we've got most of the comics and trade paperbacks that are in a given previews. We provide a feature slide, so that little picture with Batman and Giger is, or Geiger, I guess it's called. It tells you what an aliens nerd I am. So that picture we build a little blurb for it, and that just goes on your store automatically. That links through to everything that was added to your store that month. We also create a monthly email that features every product added to your database that month, and you have the option of just automatically sending that out. About 90% of our stores just automatically send that out when we once we've created it, and they'll see 25 to 30% of their ongoing customers subscribe to titles, one or more titles, like as soon as that email goes out. So our curated subscriptions get you more comic sales. The store has a look and feel like your own business. So this is a separate kind of portal right now, and I'll get into kind of what our future plans are towards the end. But this has a look and feel right now by using your colors and your logo similar to your own business. From the back end, you're going to get recurring revenue from comic subscriptions with elegant tools to manage ordering and fulfillment of comics. So this is an example of the oh no, did I? No, I did that right. This is an example of the pulling tool. So this shows you exactly what's being pulled that week. So all these highlighted things are things that came in this week, and then I'm going to check them to make sure that they're pulled and that the pricing is right. And you get exact numbers and names of the people who get this, so you'll know exactly who got that Avengers copy and who's going to get those Dark Knight's death medals. You then know how many you have left over for your wall. So by the end of this process, which takes about 2 minutes, you'll know that you can put 10 copies on the wall and that you've got 14 copies behind the cash register. This takes very little time. I know stores that take half a day to do their pulls right now, and they get onto this system and they're like, wow, this takes me very little time. The back office tools actually let you know exactly what you need to order. So your initial orders for both Diamond and Lunar, and we used to have UCS, but we've just recently pulled it away. But any future distributors, we can bring on new distributors very, very quickly. They can all be generated from Managed Comics. You'll spend a lot less time figuring out what it is you need to order. And you can invoice with our system. So our system actually lets you send out invoices for anything that's been pulled. Your customers can actually leave pre-authorized credit cards, and we have just recently included an option for you to kind of force it. So if you want to require customers to have pre-authorized credit cards, they get a nag on every page of Managed Comics that says, hey, need you to set up with your pre-authorized credit card. What's been really, really helpful, and this came directly from both store and customer feedback, was that they wanted to be able to leave a credit card on file and have their books just get paid for as soon as the orders are done. If we would have tried to do this even 2 years ago, it was a different world and people wouldn't have allowed that. But the world has changed so much in the last 18 months, specifically in the last year, where people actually kind of have an expectation that, if they're going to pre-order something, they're committing to it and they're going to have to fulfill that commitment at some point. This is just a little slide on some of the results that All New Comics has seen, but even more importantly, what we've seen just recently with adding the pre-subscription or the pre-authorized payments, stores have started using the pre-authorized payment methods, and we noticed that like our billing used to be a couple $1,000s in a given week, but that's gone up. As of last week, it was 8 times that. So we were looking at about $16,000 in billing a week, and that's across 75 stores, and only a handful, I think it's about 6 of them, are really, really focused on invoicing right now and pre-authorized invoices. By the end of the month, we see a lot more activity, but this is only like the second week of the month, and we're already seeing 16,000 a week, which is pretty impressive. We just crossed the 10,000 customer mark. So of our 75 customers, 76 stores that we have right now, 10,000 customers across that. So I can't do the math off the top of my head, but gives you a good idea of how many customers per store we're looking at. Let's talk about, oh man, I put my what's next for Managed Comics slide on the wrong side. A couple of new tools that we're about to launch. Geek Fetch, which is a catalog of awesome stuff. So when DC left Diamond, we had to create a massive database of all products. And while we were in there, we were like, hey, why don't we start adding other products? So we've added over 30,000 gaming products. So Asmodee, ACD, a bunch of those game companies. We have over 335,000 products right now. We add about 3,500 a month. Actually, it's probably closer to 4,000 a month. We're adding comics, trade paperbacks, games, statues, action figures, books, apparel, so much stuff. And what's super cool about this is that in about a minute after you upload a Lunar or DC, Lunar or Diamond invoice, you actually have all your products created in Shopify. So we're just in the final stages of getting our Shopify app approved. And as soon as that app gets approved, then this will actually be something that you'll be able to install on your Shopify store and just get like really, really good product information up there. And so we go ahead and do things like tags. We do the cost of the product. So we actually know your cost based on your invoice. You've got your SKUs and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool tool. I'm really proud of it. Coming soon, we're going to be integrating Managed Comics with Shopify. It's always under development. We release probably 2 or 3 new or revamped features every, I'd say, 2 months. But we've kind of put everything on hold to build this integration into Shopify. So basically the subscribe to this series will be on every product page that has a subscription that is a possible active subscription. And then there'll also be some pages injected into your Shopify site that will be kind of the Managed Comics side of things, which will let people subscribe to a product and choose kind of the variant covers and things like that. So we're anticipating an April to early May release on this. And yeah, we're really, really excited about this. And this is kind of the future of what we're going to do going forward. This tool is being built modularly enough that we can actually integrate it with a whole bunch of other platforms as well. That's nice. Talk to me about getting. I wonder what word I was getting more info. So yeah, Managed Comics has been a labor of love for me for more than a decade. I want to help stores succeed, and I've proven that this system is just one way to do that. So yeah, Vince and I would love to talk to you about your business. We can talk to you about how Managed Comics can work for you. And yeah, you just go to managedcomics.com/meeting, or you can email me directly at brian@managedcomics.com. Alrighty. Well, that was fun. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I feel like sometimes I'm forcing people to drink from the fire hose because I just throw info at you.
There was a ton of great info on there. I probably tell you, I was taking some pretty vigorous notes. I didn't realize how deep we were going to go into the marketing and digital stuff. It was great information from top to bottom. And I one of the things that's great in presentations like that, it's like, oh, we're already doing some of that. We already utilize Buffer a lot at Channel Fireball, and we're already looking at all the Google stuff in terms of making sure we address things. We have SEM Rush looking to see who's backlinking towards us, all those things. Great practices that have drastically improved traffic and conversion on our website. So thank you so much. That it was just an amazing amount of it. It was definitely a fire hose of information. Like even knowing like, oh, we do that, but there's so much more to look at. So thank you so much for your time, Brian and Vince. This was just amazing amount of information. So thank you for giving up part of your Saturday and joining us here at LGS Con. My
pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
All right, everyone. So Managed Comics North IQ, that was our last presentation for the day. I know there's many of you who maybe got on a bit late because we had some issues with the Zoom room. And I want to encourage all of you, if there's any questions you have, that you didn't get a chance to get out earlier, or that you weren't here for earlier when John and Josh, and then later what we're presenting, go ahead and do that now. I want to take this time as we draw everything to a close here for LGSC. I do want to remind you all, in case you missed that offer from the very beginning, for anyone trying to interested in booking a demo on Binder POS, and I'll go ahead. I have the link right here. Let me go ahead and drop that. Did I grab that link? How prepared were you, Mosh? I have a link to booking a demo for Binder POS. Yes, I did do it. It's right there. I just put it in the chat. Book a demo in the next 24 hours, complete the demo, and we will send you an unlimited box of Arcane Rising. That's Flesh and Blood set. Flesh and Blood, for those of you who aren't in Flesh and Blood, get into Flesh and Blood. Diversification was one of the key things earlier when I was speaking that we all need to do as a market. That's why I really wanted Brian and his team here to touch on comics. They touched on so much more than comics, but comics is another way to diversify. Flesh and Blood, Pokemon if you're not in there, Magic if you're not in there, whatever it is, finding different things to sell, items to sell. It insulates you from the ups and downs of a bad set or a bad release or an unpopular set, an unpopular release. And I cannot encourage everyone out there enough to do it. So if you have an opportunity, you can book a demo. Go to that link I just put in there. Go to binderpos.com. If you're already a Binder POS customer, you can refer someone, and they just have to say, "Oh, hey, hey Tyler," because Tyler's the guy who does our demos. He's awesome. "Hey Tyler, I was sent by Moshi's Comics and Cards," and then we'll reach out to Moshi's Comics and Cards and say, "Hey Moshi, you sent someone our way. How about a box of Arcane Rising Unlimited?" Let's see. Will this complete video be uploaded or emailed? Crypto Kraken, we record everything. We just want to touch base with all of our presenters, make sure they're okay with us, posting and or emailing the information, and we will get right to that. But yeah, there's a lot of great information, and I know just from my own stuff that I do have notes right here that I was taking. It was at times coming fast and furious, and I know it's hard to keep up with all of that amazing information. So there were a lot of key things I think we saw kind of running through all of this, which was kind of getting active, getting that feedback loop started with all of our customers, right? Being proactive about getting in front of them. You saw Liz when she was talking about everything she's doing at Ultra Pro, how aggressive they are with getting into their Facebook group, listening to everyone, talking to everyone, really trying to draw that feedback in, so they can develop new products just the way we want, just the way we know our customers want, and being extremely proactive with driving that conversation to all of us. And in a similar manner, we need to be driving that same conversation to all of our customers. Of course, Gavin spoke about Commander being on the rise. Boomer magician like myself, I played a lot of competitive Standard, and that was all Magic was to me. And I thought one of the great lessons there with Gavin talking about Commander and how much time and effort and energy Wizards of the Coast is putting into Commander, and how that's being viewed as the most popular way to play Magic. Well, now we're diversifying inside the product line, right? All of us, I'm sure there's tons of us here who aren't building our stores or our marketing to that Commander group. We're focused on Standard, the new set that's driving Standard, but there's this whole way we can diversify inside the product line we're already selling to the clients we already have. You heard Brian talk about this. Those are the most qualified leads we have. The people who've already shopped with us, they're so much more likely to come back to us and spend more money with us. So let's find new ways to repackage, re-engage, and market to them. So I loved all of that. Of course, James at the very beginning, was just talking about the long play, how to plan things out, how to make sure that we're ensuring our survival, that we can keep doing business year in and year out, regardless of COVID, regardless of what kind of environment we're in. So I think all of it really, really tied together extremely well. I hope you enjoyed this first LGSC. If you go to lgscon.com, there are signups. I believe it's May 20th. We have another date picked out. We want to come visit with everyone again in May, share more information, come together as a community, and have another one of these just for free. It's going to be for free. You just click on the Zoom link. I'll make sure it's the right. That was on me. My poor team of Kyle and Dennis had to fix all that. Click on that link, join us for free, hang out and contribute, ask questions, get in that feedback loop so we can make things better. Our panelists can make things better. If you have any comments, any feedback about this event, I would surely appreciate you taking the time and reaching out. You can find me, Mashi, M-A-S-H-I, at channelfireball.com. You can always tweet at me at Mashi Scanlon. I'm on Twitter quite a bit as well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday and spending it with us. I mentioned earlier, but this was a passion project for myself and for John Sasso. Both of us have been in this industry as retailers for basically our adult lives. So finding ways to give back to this community, to come together in a time like this and just give back to the community means an incredible amount. And I'm just very, very happy and thankful and grateful that so many of you took time out of your day to join us. So thank you for that. And I'd love to keep that going. Join that Binder POS newsletter. There's tons of videos that come out from our excellent community manager, Haiti Cloak. She does all kinds of videos talking about how to market, how to sell, how to convert, just tips and tricks for retailers. It's all free. We just need your email, and you are going to get emails from us, but you want to stay up to date, like things like the marketplace, the Binder POS platform. Even if you're not doing it, it opens up different possibilities, get you thinking about, hey, they're doing this on Binder POS, maybe I can do it on my platform, or hey, maybe my platform could talk to Binder POS. All those things are wonderful. And then of course, the free box of Arcane Rising Unlimited. That's just my way to try to tempt you into booking a demo. So you book that demo, you go through the demo, you let us know, and we'll send you that free box of Arcane Rising. It's going to diversify you. I want you to diversify. I want you to get out of either just Magic or just Pokemon or just comics or just Yu-Gi-Oh! Like get into Flesh and Blood. If you're already into Flesh and Blood, well, you know that an extra box of Arcane Rising Unlimited, that ain't going to hurt anything. But join the Magic crowd, join the Pokemon crowd, get in there and diversify. And I'd love to be on that journey with you, with Binder POS, with Channel Fireball, and with the CFB group. We'd love to partner up with you and help you through everything that's coming, because there's been a lot that's already come, and there's always more on the horizon. Okay, that does it for this, our first LGSC. Again, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Valentine's Day for everyone tomorrow. Of course, Valentine's Day, that's your PSA friendly reminder. And until we can meet up again, hopefully in May when we see you all again, please, as always, be wonderful to yourselves and be wonderful to each other.